We have our candidate here, and I'd be happy to introduce you, sir, if you're ready. I don't think he needs any introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Ron Paul.
Introduce two members of my family. My wife Carol is with me. We have a granddaughter, Valerie, back here. Appreciate this very much. Very nice turnout. You know, it's been a pretty exciting, busy day today. A lot of interviews. They want to do these interviews outdoors, and that takes a little adjusting. but they've been good. We're a little late this evening because we were on the Larry King show, and that went pretty well too. But I can't remember all the numbers we were on, but there were quite a few, so it's been going very well. But I'm delighted that you've come out, and you know, one of the things that really got our campaign moving early on with the first debate had to do with foreign policy and had to do with our military and our strategy and how we remain strong and how we remain vigilant and what we should do overseas. And matter of fact, Larry King asked me this tonight, and he said, what was really one of the most important issues that finally made you decide to run? And it is foreign policy. First time I ever ran for Congress in the 70s, it was economic policy, you know, because I was concerned about the currency and the breakdown of the Bretton Woods Agreement, the spending, and we had bad times in the 70s because we were paying the bills for the 60s. And I know a lot of people in this room remember the 60s because we were told we could have guns and butter, no big deal. Well, the big deal cost a lot of money, and that's what happened in the 70s. We had stagflation and serious consequences. But you know, a year ago, I was not a candidate. I was very, very reluctant to do this, and a lot of people came to me and asked me about it, and I said, you know, I just don't know if the time is right. I don't know if the young people would respond. I don't know about other people who care about the country, or whether there'll be enough of us. And I finally was persuaded, but really probably it was had to do with the foreign policy. You know, it had to do with the military. I was in the military for 5 years in the 60s, and I remember the arguments back and forth about Vietnam. You know, the light is at the end of the tunnel. You know, soon it'll be over. And you know, if we don't stay, there'll be a domino effect, and the communists are going to take over all Southeast Asia, and on and on. And now it's almost like we're repeating ourselves. And yet when the tragedy of the 60s, we left, we lost so many men. Also, the very sad part about it is, you know, I don't even think we did a very good job in making darn certain that we got all our POWs and MIAs accounted for. And that to me is sad. I hope we never do that again. So when the 60s went by, though, I thought we would maybe change our attitude. But here it is in the 70s that motivated me to run, but now in the 90s, really the war that's going on now was started in the 90s. It's been going on a long time. This administration wasn't the administration that started this war. Matter of fact, our whole attitude about foreign policy changed many years ago. It changed actually with Woodrow Wilson, who was the idealist. This is, you know, it's our responsibility to make the world safe for democracy, whatever that means, you know. You know, but it was vague and idealistic, and if you look at history, you know, some of the things that we have done, the problems developed in the World War I and in the so-called peace, the Versailles Treaty, has led to, you know, complication. Really set the stage for Hitler. But we're still fighting the Versailles Treaty. It's a Versailles Treaty that set up the boundaries in Iran. It's an artificial country. There were 3 provinces out of the old Ottoman Empire that was stuck together, and the only way it could be held together over all these years is through a military dictator. It was very unstable. And yet here we are over there trying to patch this thing together at great expense, and we're told we can't leave because all kinds of problems will occur. But of course, the people who claim if we ever left we'd have all these problems are the ones who said, Don't sweat it. We're walking in there. It will be a cakewalk. No trouble. Within weeks, it will be a combination. And, you know, it will just be so easy, and it'll be all taken care of. And they're the ones who are telling us that there's going to be so much trouble. And remember, they said it wouldn't cost us anything because the oil would pay all the bills. Well, that didn't happen. You know, and we went in, some actually, they admitted it behind the scenes that we have to go in there. And a lot of Americans believe this, and they'd be even honest about it. Well, we have to protect the oil. Well, it doesn't happen to be our oil. If we were in there to protect our oil, we didn't do a very good job. You know, it went from $27 a barrel up today it hits $100 a barrel. And what did it cost us? Nearly $1 trillion already. It's cost us, and we don't have the money. So what do? They spend all this money, and they can't tax us anymore. They can't borrow anymore. The Chinese won't even loan it to us. We can't even fight this war without the Chinese. And yet, what do? We print the money, which causes the inflation, and that also pushes prices up. It's not a very good policy. You know, we need to have a strong America. We need a strong economic system, and we need a strong military to defend ourselves. But here we are. We've been doing all these years and years of fighting over there, and it's hard to get people to join the military now. The morale is down. The young guys get sent over there. They get sent for a year. Then they come home, they get sent back for another year, they get back, they get sent home on a third tour, and then they finally get there in 12 months, and then, hell, we're going to keep you there for 15 months. I mean, and then the equipment, I mean, the generals tell me that the equipment is not in good shape. We ought to have a break just to get the equipment back in order. But, you know, I just don't think we're safer. I think we're more vulnerable than ever because our greatest threat is terrorism. And the greatest incentive for a terrorist to come here is for us to invade their country. And we are seen as invaders. I mean, this doesn't mean that we're to blame. We Americans aren't to blame, but bad policies have bad consequences, and it comes back to haunt us. It's called blowback. The CIA warned us about this and unintended consequences. And if indeed, as a matter of fact, even Paul Wolfowitz, who was an architect of the war, said that one of the main reasons why they came here and attacked us, he didn't say because we were free and prosperous, because we had bases in Saudi Arabia, and that was on Holy Land, and this motivated Al-Qaeda. And this is not an excuse for them, it's to understand why a certain small segment of any group of people will become fanatical if they get enraged, and this was the motivation. So what do? We go and we invade Iraq, we invade Afghanistan, we're in nation building, we're very deeply involved in Pakistan. You know, we don't have troops there, but what did we do? We chased bin Laden into Pakistan. We didn't follow up, we didn't go get him, we didn't fight at Tora Bora, and we said, oh well, we'll bribe this military dictatorship, Musharraf, and he'll do our work for us. We gave him $10 billion. I think it's a lousy investment. That's $10 billion out of our pockets. Weakens our economy. Then we wonder why middle-class Americans having trouble. And it's because we devalue our currency, we drain our resources, we take them, we spend them overseas. So I think it's time to have a pro-American foreign policy and come home. Immediately end the killing of Americans, would end the killing of a lot of people, and I think these predictions that everything would be a disaster just won't come true. Look at what's happened in Vietnam. We trade with Vietnam, we visit Vietnam, the president of Vietnam comes over here. Matter of fact, they've turned into pretty good capitalists. You know, we invest over there and they're earning money. What about the Chinese? I think they're outdoing us right now. They've taken so many of our dollars. And sometimes I think foolishly, because we didn't produce much. It wasn't like we were producing enough that we earned our money. We just printed the money and they were willing to take it. But right now they hold a lot of dollars and they hold us over the barrel. And we can't even fight the war. We can't even run our domestic system without this continual borrowing. We borrow over $800 billion a year from foreigners because that's how much we spend over and above what we produce. But the Chinese, what are they doing? Do they have armies running around the world invading? No, they don't. And we can still take care of China just like that. Our military is still top dog. And nobody's going to attack us militarily. but they're attacking us in different fashions. It's our finances that are at such risk. The Chinese could bring us to knees just by collapsing the dollar. If you watch the news today, dollar down sharp again, oil over $100 a barrel. I mean, how long is this going to last? And we have to live within our means. That is what our goal has to be. It sounds like, well, no, if we can get away with it, why not do it? I mean, we can tax to a degree, and we can borrow to a degree, and then we can inflate to a degree. But when you inflate, that is, create money out of thin air to pay the bills, eventually that dollar has to go down in value, and that is what's happening. We live way beyond our means, and what the dollar is telling us that we have to live within our means. And the reason I talk about foreign policy, not only do I fear what happens and people die, but it's the mentality that goes along with war. When a country's at war, Randolph Bourne once says, war is the health of the state. That is, when war is going on, the people's willingness to defend personal liberties are diminished. We're sacrificing our freedoms here at home. So I don't think we have external threats. Anything like the internal threats of our liberties here at home, our civil liberties are being violated, and we better be aware of that as well.
That's right. That's right.